Hi, I am Mahesh Parasuraman, co-founder and partner at Amicus Capital. Amicus Capital is a growth capital fund. We currently manage over 300 million in assets. We typically invest in companies once the business model is proven. In terms of investment opportunities, especially in 2025, I think that manufacturing is going to be a big theme. I'm seeing a lot of investments being made by not only by us as Amicus Capital, but also by other private equity funds, given that a number of factors have come together. Combination of the PLI scheme, the China Plus One story, and India has come of age on its own on the manufacturing side. I think these three put together, I think we're going to enter into what I call as a golden era for manufacturing. You're going to see a lot more investments being made, a lot more IPOs in the pipeline as well in 2025. So watch out for that. The second theme is healthcare. It has always been a focus area for PE funds, and I think will continue to be so. It will be an area where you're going to see a lot more, import substitution themes, especially in consumables, medical devices, and other medtech areas, to name a few. I think the consolidation in the hospital space is going to continue. You're going to see a lot more controlled transactions with private equity funds coming in and consolidating smaller hospitals to create a larger chain. So I think these are two themes that we can talk about. In terms of financial services, I think that your fintechs have taken a back seat in the last few years. You're going to see a re-emergence of some of those, and you're going to see some of those pivot in 2025 to a more secured lending model, given the regulatory challenges that each of these are facing at this point in time. So I think these are probably some key trends to watch out for in 2025 for the private equity world. For us to actually attract more capital and to be a best version of ourselves, I think there has to be a great focus on exits in my view. 2024 was a relatively muted year relative to 2023. Hopefully the momentum will continue. A lot of PE funds will need to return capital back. This is assuming a lot more significance given the fact that the US interest rates are going up and there's risk off on the table. Capital will flow back to the US from emerging markets. And for us to be able to attract foreign capital, we need to make sure that we can demonstrate that we can take capital off the table periodically and return it back to investors, so that India is continued to be seen as an attractive destination from an investment standpoint. All the more the fact that the rupee has depreciated quite a bit in quick time, and we run the risk that with the US policies there could be further stress on the rupee. Taking capital periodically off the table is important, otherwise the returns could suffer. On the domestic front, I think a lot of capital has been raised from HNIs in the last few years, and I think exits will also allow this capital to sort of circulate and come back into the private equity world and venture world again. So I think that should be a focus area for us. The other bit that has I think in many ways restricted us is really the regulatory framework. I think that there's been a little bit of over-regulation as far as AIFs are concerned. Maybe one way of solving this is really to increase the ticket size from 1 crore to maybe 3 or 5 crores for an eligible investor, which will make sure that we have only sophisticated investors that are coming into contributing capital into the private equity world and venture world. This hopefully will mean that more sophisticated investors will mean that there's lesser regulation and this burden can be reduced. Maybe one other way of solving for this is really to have a self-regulatory mechanism for the private equity and venture world, so that we can make sure that we can all imbibe best practices and can make sure that this patient capital that India needs as we rebuild India and continue to grow at 7-8%, this capital can continue to flow from both within and outside India as well. So I think these are probably two areas for us to think about.